we got to get this thing going because I'm itching to have this conversation, itching in a good way. So I have to introduce, seriously, yeah. But we have to introduce first. And, ladies first, I'm sure Ken doesn't mind that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a
Go ahead.
gentleman. He's a gentleman. And I'm interested to hear your story, Ken, into how you got into this, right?
For sure.
Um, but first, I have to introduce, can I say my sister from another mister now? Jamie, would you say that?
I absolutely would say that, Dr.
Yeah.
Don.
And
Absolutely.
Robert's my brother from another mother now, I would say. And I know he's listening and going to be watching. But brothers and sisters, first she is no stranger to the Dr. Dunn radio show. This is her third time. So, I really, really like her. I don't need nobody just to fill the slot. Jamie is the real deal. She is an award-winning domestic violence survivor and advocate. She is a resilience and encouragement speaker, and she is an activist and coach. Welcome back to the Dr. Don radio show. Jamie, all right. How are you, darling?
I am phenomenal, Dr. Don. And as always, thank you, sis, for using your voice, your platform. I'm always honored to be here.
I'm just glad to have you. From Jamie, I got 5 more shows. I mean, she just is. Resilience. The R stands for resilience. And Ken, who is new, but I'm sure he will not be a stranger. Kenneth Scott. He
Yes,
is a domestic violence high risk team coach with the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. How are you, Ken?
I'm blessed. I can't complain one bit. So thankful to be on this show with you guys.
Yeah. Did I get it right? The title and everything?
Yeah, it's a mouthful. So you definitely got it right.
It is. Domestic violence is a mouthful.
For sure.
Yeah. Let me acknowledge the people who are on here. And people, I want to thank everyone who listens online. Thank you for everyone who listens through the app. Thank you for those who are watching on Facebook. If you want to see us on Facebook, go to my personal page, Dawn Paul, and feel free to put your comments in there. Shout out to Dr. Alyssa Jones, who is a survivor. She's giving Purple Hearts. She says, love this already, and we haven't even gotten started. So let's get into this first. Jamie, briefly, if you would give us your testimony of domestic violence or surviving domestic violence, and then what led you to this work as an advocate.
Absolutely, Dr. Don. And anybody that's watching, I echo Dr. Don. Thank you for being here. Please go back and watch the previous shows if you want details of my testimony, because I want this time to be focused on K. Scott and his perspective. So I am a domestic violence survivor. I call myself an accidental advocate in that 3 years ago, before becoming homeless as a result of domestic violence, I never would have thought in a million years I'd be using my voice of overcoming domestic violence, especially in my community and in communities of color. So again, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to share this space with K. Scott. Brother, I honor you, I acknowledge you, and I'm just honored to be in the movement, serving the people alongside you. So that's me in a nutshell, y'all.
Movement is powerful. That's powerful. Ken, give us some of your background, brother. What is your personal story that led you to work in this field?
Yeah, so for me, I always say I'm a West Coast kid with a Southern feel. So I was born in Texas, and then I was raised in California. Majority of my life, I was raised by my mother who was sick. She had lupus. And so I didn't grow up with a father in my home. It was just me and my mom until half my childhood. And my mom got married. And then the dynamics of the family wasn't there towards the back end. In the beginning, everything was great. But towards the back end, things got a little tricky. So obviously there was a lot of emotional abuse.
From the stepfather?
Yeah. Okay. And we reconciled later on in life and kind of gave me a different perspective about things. And so, but yeah, so that was just that. And then obviously I played sports. So coming from
we
me,
saw that. We see that here. Yeah.
I played sports, some transitioning from football after I retired. I went to the University of Utah, had that small opportunity with the Los Angeles Rams, and then the CFL with the Montreal Alouettes. And then I transitioned to the nonprofit field because I just wanted to be of service. And my first job in the nonprofit field was a domestic violence shelter. And that's
okay. So hold on. Now, Alyssa, let me put up and Ken, if you've ever been on this show, like we keep it real. I hate to interrupt you. We don't.
You're okay.
When I get good comments, don't we, Jamie? It's like we're at home sitting on the couch. Alyssa says we have to honor her. And that is what Alyssa has said. She has an amazing organization honoring survivors. Reach out to her. And Alyssa, I think I did tag her when you were looking for survivors. So absolutely. But Ken, I want to go back. So here you were an athlete. You go from athletics to nonprofit work.
Right.
Right. Okay. Yeah. How did that happen?
Really, to be honest with you, when I look back at it, I was just searching for jobs in the service field. I just wanted to be of service and helping children and kids. I mean, children and anybody that was in need. And so for some reason, I don't know how I came upon, but there was just a job opening for a domestic violence shelter. I did some research and it was like only women there. And as I was going through the interview process, it was like, oh, would you be comfortable working with all women, you know? And I was like, yeah, of course I'll be comfortable. And so that was a good eye opener for me. Just hearing their testimonies from surviving through domestic violence. And that gave me a stronger sense of wanting to advocate for them.
Now you went through it. So in a way that led you to be able to help others.
Right. Because I seen it like when these women would tell me about their past history, it would remind me of like what we would go through. And so, and then I would see their kids in the shelter too. And I will always see them like, man, that probably was me back in my day. You know what I'm saying? Watching and witnessing the family dynamics, not where it should be, right? From a mother and father standpoint. And so that's what touched me and what kind of made me want to really dive deeper into the movement. And then from there, the women's shelter, I transitioned to a fatherhood program where I'm teaching fathers about healthy parenting, healthy relationships, financial literacy, and things of that nature. So I was working on both ends of the spectrum.
we got to get Robert and Jamie. You remind me, she's my secretary too. You remind me, we've got to get Robert and Ken, and I know other single fathers too. We've got to do another show. I've done shows with single fathers, but we've got to do it again. Jamie, you'll make that happen.
I will.
Now, yes. So I'm just. How many siblings do you have, Ken?
So I don't have any biological siblings. I have 2 step siblings, and I call them my real siblings. So I've been with one since he was 1 year old, and the other, he came in. We was like brothers instantly. So I have 2 siblings.
Okay, so their father was abusive.
Yeah.
Toward all of you, or just you?
I wouldn't say so. I look at it because I'm mentally the way I was different. So there's certain things that people can say to me and I can be able to take it on and channel that in the right way. Right. But others, it may diminish them, you know, and do a negative result. And so for me, I seek it as motivation. Like, you know what, I'm going to take whatever negativity that's being spewed at me and I'm going to flip it and use it as fuel. But a lot of others can't do it that way. Right. And so it just depends on the person. I know my little brother, you know, it may have diminished his confidence or things and make it in a negative effect. But for me, it was more positive. Right. It was like, I'm gonna prove it. And then later on down the line, we had an amazing conversation just to kind of go back.
Yeah.
So when I was in college, him and my mother, they were going through it and they ended up divorcing.
Yeah.
So when they divorced, it was a bad divorce. You know, he was seeking out, you know, different women. And he told me it, you know, when we reconciled, he's seeking out different women. And he wasn't treating my mom the right way, right? And so me and him, after my mom passed, we didn't talk for like years, right? And then it just so happened that he came into Texas and he come into the house and we just sat and talked, like had that man-to-man conversation. And he said, man, if I can go back and do it all over again, I would change literally everything. And sometimes, you know, it sucks to say, but I felt like because of my mom's death, it weighed on him heavy because he couldn't come to the family, like to come to the hospital, and that hurt him because he loved my mom. He truly loved my mom, right? And it hurt him to the core because he wasn't able to see her at her final stage, you know, at that moment. And so I think that's what kind of did something to him. And me and him are cool now. We chat, and now it's like he's holding me accountable. he's holding me accountable to be like, look, don't be like me. Like, don't do the things that I did. And so that's what's, changed, helped me.
Jamie, I see you were tearing up.
Yeah.
Talk about it, Jamie. What are you feeling right now?
Yeah, that the little people. Yeah, every time I think about little people that are being damaged, to use your word, K. Scott, it triggers me because, yeah, when I went into the shelter and I seen this little girl there staring at me, it just reminded me of myself when I was 5, 6 years old, hearing my mom scream for help as she was getting, pretty much almost the life stumped out of her. So that's what makes me that's what made me emotional in the moment, but it also made me emotional because I'm so grateful. I'm so
Yes.
grateful to K. Scott for being in the movement and for other people, especially men and especially 2 times Black men that
Mm-hmm.
are in the movement saying, hey, this is a problem, but I'm willing to be a part of the solution. So it's gratitude tears too.
Right.
Let me read. He said the word diminish, which is a
Mm-hmm.
powerful word, and I want to read the definition. To make or become less.
Mm-hmm.
So the abuse makes someone feel less than. And then and I love reading definitions anytime I'm reading the Bible, but it just makes it more impactful for me. And then make
Mm-hmm.
someone seem less impressive or valuable.
Right.
It diminishes them. But I got a question for both of you.
Uh-huh.
Jamie, your stepfather, he abused you. He apologized at the funeral, right?
Yes.
Ken, your mother passes, here your stepfather, but it always takes something after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? While they're abusing, they don't get it, but it always takes something like a death. Oh, I was wrong. I was wrong. And you guys, I want you to just speak honestly, because there are people saying, who are listening, who may be watching, saying, shouldn't, it always takes it seems like the extreme. They don't see it while they're in it. So talk to us on the outside looking in, who are saying, why don't they see it when they see the tears of their son crying, when they see Jamie bloody? Do they not stop? Talk about it, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you can go first,
Anyway,
Jamie. Yeah,
whoever.
you can go first, Jamie.
I mean, for me, you all, it is absolutely I didn't get it. I didn't get that I lacked self-worth and self-esteem and that I was seeking love from a man until I went into a homeless shelter with my education and everything and found myself at a homeless shelter as a result of domestic violence and getting therapy, lots of it, for me to unpack the why.
Gotcha.
So I put that same notion in mindset with a person that caused harm or an abuser. Studies show that abusive partners, they learn the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So it might not be that, oh, it's not until after something bad happens that they shift. It might be that when the bad is happening, nobody's interrupting that bad behavior
Gotcha. Thank you.
to replace it with other tools. So
yeah. That I like how you said that, but do you see how Ken and Jamie's been on here before, Ken? So she in no way, she's not offended. People who come on this show not offended. The purpose of this show is it's no judgment, just realness. We are learning. Domestic violence is not my expertise. It's a life. That's not what I touch, right?
Right.
Everybody has their niche. I love when I am learning from people like you who are in this, because domestic violence is something going on and we're just now recently really starting to talk about it. Right. And I think the pandemic really just kind of, skyrocketed this whole thing,
Without a doubt.
Yeah. But can you talk about it? I like how you said that, Jamie, but there's no one to intervene to say stop. Right. There's no one, the tears don't make them stop. Them seeing you bloody doesn't make them stop. Talk about it, Ken.
Man, yeah, it like she mentioned, all it takes is somebody to interrupt that pattern or that behavior.
Yeah, that's good.
I look at everything as a choice. Like everybody has a choice to do bad, or everybody has a choice to do good. And as soon as we build those good habits, like even if it's like, say they do abuse 10 times a week, right? Which is bad. But if we can like stop one of them or two of them to where it's like 8, that's still progress, like going towards what we're trying to ultimately get to, which is zero, right? And so we're just trying to like figure out, okay, what behaviors, what triggers like made that situation happen. And so when I look back, and even when I talk to my stepfather, like I call my stepfather my pops because my father wasn't in my life. Yeah, my father wasn't in my life. So,
I tell you.
Yeah, he was the only father figure I had like growing up for him. And so I call him my pops. He did everything for me. But you know, when he talks to me now, he's just like, everybody has a choice. And if he went back and did it again, he would take a moment to step back instead of stepping forward in regards to like let his anger, his emotion really drive everything. And I believe that like because you know, when we were growing up, we were living off public housing, Section 8, SSI checks, welfare programs and stuff. And so I understand the context of not having that can make things intensify, right? And for him, it's like financially, you know, he wasn't in a good place.
But it doesn't excuse it.
It doesn't excuse it. It doesn't excuse it at all.
Yeah.
But you know, I try to stay neutral sometimes so I can understand both sides, so I can figure out like how to help people, you know, because if I'm just on the side of the victim, then the guy who's the harm doer is gonna be like, man, you just like everybody else, always trying to ostracize me, always you ain't trying to help me. You just, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I have to kind of, even though I know they're wrong, I have to be neutral just so that I can get in and really connect with them so that we can make changes.
Hold on, Kenneth. Y'all, we're getting powerful here. I hope people are paying attention, because when you tell your friend's abusive boyfriend, you ain't no good, even though Ken doesn't want to be neutral and he knows we're not addressing it in the right way. The community has to be educated.
Right.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Ken, that's powerful. And you're married, right? I saw the wedding ring.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure many women are disappointed. He is a cutie, but yeah. And Dr. Don is looking too. Yeah, he's married. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. That's another show.
I know, right?
Have you ever, maybe been abusive yourself, growing up, but you said it didn't really affect you like that? Because some grow up to be abusive and then some don't.
You know, so early on, to be honest with you, I wouldn't say I was abusive on that end, but I had a lot of power and control in regards to like financially. I was really trying to, because I didn't want to grow up and be in the same situation I was raised in. So like financially, I'm like, man, I got to make sure this is, you know, I had control of that, making sure I was good in that aspect. But as I've learned, you know, me and my wife, we went through the power and control wheel together. It's like, hey,
all right,
where do you see like us? Like, you know, are we good? You know, so just as a reminder. And that was the first time she saw it. Like, oh shoot, this is power and control, and here's the equality wheel. And so when I always tell people, like, if you're not aware, like it's hard for you to really move the way you know how to move it. So like for my step pops, my pops, you know, I learned that you need to make somebody aware of the things. Like sometimes people can be so far in the frame that they can't see it. Like my jersey, right? Like if I'm my jersey can't see like what I see because I'm outside the frame looking in. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so like sometimes you have to step out the frame in order to really see the full picture. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where awareness comes in. And once they're aware, and then the next step is like having the desire to change. If they don't have the desire to change, then there's not too much you can do, to be honest with you, until a breaking point happens where it may cause someone a death that may trigger it, but something has to trigger them in order to create that desire to change. And then once they have that desire, that's when you can apply knowledge to them, right? You can meet them where they're at. Like, okay, here, instead of doing this, maybe you can move in this way. Instead of using intimidating behavior, how can you use non-intimidation, right? What other things can you draw the conversation back? And then once they have that ability, then they can start reinforcing it to where, you know, this is a constant practice, and the habits and the triggers and the patterns are starting being broken off one by one. And then over time, you know, they get enough practice, get enough exercise, you know, they'll make better choices. That's really the main thing about it.
Now, Jamie, I want to start with you, and then you all saw the talking points, because we are responsible. In no way are we saying stay with your abuser.
Right.
Even if he's in recovery or she's in recovery, stay. That's not what they're saying. In no way, people, are we encouraging you to stay with an abuser, even if they are in a recovery program. Don't go back. Ken's not saying go back. Right. Jamie's not. we're just getting into the mind of an abuser. And we are addressing the abuser and talking about, can an abuser change? But how do you all deal with that? Jamie, you and Ken, a couple comes in, clearly she's being abused, right? You're all working with him, both of them. How do you address that though?
Did you want to start, Jamie, or?
Yeah. So from a survivor, well, so from a person that's received the harm, what I know now, what I would encourage the person that's receiving the harm to do is to focus on why they're accepting the harm. And I, for example, would allow Kay Scott to focus on the harm doer and figure out why they're causing harm. But what I realized, Dr. Dawn, is it wasn't until I started to focus on me, Jamie, not focus on why my partner was physically, mentally, emotionally abusing me. And as I started to focus on me, it made it real easy, y'all, for me to make the best decision for me. And it organically, powerfully just led to me deciding on my own and in my own empowerment and strength to leave and stay gone. So when I just started to focus on me, so that's what I would propose. That's not propose, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Sis, brother, focus on you. Allow them, because what happens is it starts to pull apart.
I love it.
Now you can, because, and the reason I asked that, because you just mentioned when you're talking to a couple and the boyfriend says, oh, you're just like everybody else. How do you address that when you try to have a safe plan of action, which we have talked about before, right, Jamie? But Ken, sometimes it's not like that. When they come in together, how do you address that?
You have to separate it. So personally, I don't feel like couples counseling for a domestic violence group is needed. I think they need to be separated at first to address each of their traumas.
Good.
Then once they address what they got to address, then y'all can come mutually and then work on an agreement. Because I feel like once you go into couples therapy, that's a vulnerable moment. And I don't want the victim to say something that is vulnerable and him using it in the future. And, or man, why'd you tell the therapist that? And then she get hit upside the head. Or why'd you do it? Get hit upside the head. I'd rather them work separately for like maybe 6 months, work separately. And then as the therapist and stuff feel like they've come to where they're both good, then you can come together. But typically when I want to talk with a guy that, doing harm, I like to understand their backstory, like their childhood. And so I ask them different questions in regards to childhood so I can see, okay, so for instance, I'll give them I'll ask a random question.
Hold on, let me stop. I love when the Holy Spirit leads. If the therapist says they're good, sometimes it may not be.
Right.
And it's time for a safe plan of action. But the truth is, some people you can only do what you can do.
Right.
Right. But I just want to make sure people know Ken is not saying. He's not saying, and you say it, Ken. I don't want to say it for you.
Yeah, I'm not saying y'all can't do it. I'm just saying I'll advise working on yourself. Even if your therapist says you good, you make sure you good. Like Jamie was saying, make sure you good. Like that's number one.
Because the truth is, some people don't share the whole story. And then they're in a situation where they're like, well, y'all can work this out, but they hadn't told you the whole thing. That's why domestic violence experts like Jamie and Kay Scott are so important. But we'll touch on that later, I'm sure. Go ahead. No, I'm serious. And it's not, and we know this is serious. And even life coaches, that's not your niche. I don't address. I'm going to refer them to Jamie. I'm going to refer them to HAWC. This is nothing to play with. Pastors, I'm a Christian. I love the Lord, but you can't pray it away. You cannot address this like Dr. Conti has come on here and said, like any other regular marital problem. So we just want to be educated here, people. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And another thing, I was talking with someone and they were like, men get this notion of like when you're growing up, oh, you got to be the man of the house. You got to be the man of the house. And sometimes I'm taken aback because I'm like, man, I have daughters, right? I have two of them, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I'm thinking like, man, I get it. You got to be the man of the house, but how come he just can't be the man in the house? Like meaning like you know what I'm
That's
saying?
good.
Like right, like because I feel like that verbiage makes it seem like he's ruling over everybody and like everybody has to bow down to him. And so like whenever I talk with someone about like me and my wife, I'm like, man, this is a partnership. Like if I ask her for like whenever someone asks me something, I always ask her. She gets tired of me asking her, but I ask her because I want her to know that everything that I do is for her too. Like it's valuable. And there's a one analogy that I'll give you that, I was telling, because we went through couples counseling. I told her before we get married, let's go to couples therapy for like 8 months. And
that's
we
right.
did. And so one of the things I said, early on, I was like, even though we were on the same team, I felt like I was trying to be the leading scorer. I felt like I was trying to be the one holding all the statistics and all that. And then as of late, I'm worrying about like, man, it's not all about me just being the leading scorer. We're on a team. How do we win the game? That's the question. How do we win the game instead of me trying to be the leading scorer, right? And so I think that perspective change like helped me out a lot, and in regards to like having a healthy relationship. But to kind of go back on the harm doer stuff, I feel like when I approach someone, I want to know their childhood traumas because I feel like during their childhood they made choices that shaped them to like get to this point, and so I want to ask why you made that certain choice, and seeing how it kept adding up, right? And so like when I first question sometimes like, hey, how would obviously every couple fights and argue, right? They argue, not fight like physically, but they argue, right? You get in a disagreement. What do you typically do in those situations? And then they always be like, well, I always step up, and then like, so basically I'm trying to understand like, okay, what part of the power and control wheel are they really doing? Right? Are they showing intimidating behavior? Are they minimizing, denying, or blaming like the situation? And so I'm just trying to figure out a level set, like based on the choices that they said they did during their upbringing or seen, that's something that I got to reprogram. Like if he's seeing intimidating behavior every time his mother and father argue, there's either two choices. Either he gonna do that, or he's gonna do the same thing when he gets older, or he gonna do the opposite and want to be an advocate. And so I just, obviously since I know he ended up as a harm doer, he led to that being the cause, right? That's something he's seen over and over and over. It's like ingrained in his brain. So how can I reprogram him? So
why do you refer? Why do you?
No.
Don't ever apologize, right, Jamie? We like it real. Why do you refer to them as the harm doer and not the abuser? Explain that.
It's the reason why I say a harm doer because I really want to empower them to make a change. I feel like abuser is such a negative light towards them, and I want to put some type of light towards them to where they see the other side, right? If I'm just throwing them in the shade, I'm already coming at a negative perspective. And then if I say, oh, he's the person that does the harm or a harm doer, right? Then it's a different type of light. Or I could say the person that offended the victim, something like that. But I just always want to come from a positive light so that they won't be defensive. I want them to be a report.
Doing talking to domestic of violence and survive. I stopped referring to them as victims, and I started referring to them as survivors. So this opens my eye up as well, because I was like victim, and they're like, we're not victims. We are, and even if they are in that situation, don't call them a victim. Speak as what you want them to be. That's why this show is so powerful. I no longer refer to them victims. Sometimes victims / survivor, the mentality. But overall, I try to put survivor out there. But harm doer, maybe next time we do, if I do another show on this, rewording it. Because maybe a person who is a harm doer, right, may say, oh, abuser, here we go. Who knows? One little change. I just love how you all are raising awareness. And I accept it. I acknowledge it. Because again, this is not my niche. So you all are educated. This is how the community is educated. Let's read Robert's comment. Jamie, read your king's comment.
My king is at work, and I can tell he's multitasking. So there's some errors in this.
Yes, we know. He's cutting hair. Look, I would rather him mess this up than somebody's fade, right?
Love it. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. He's not going to miss the opportunity to support me. I just, one of the reasons why I love him so. That's the key. We also have to have the parent in the house. Let them know that as well. Let them know that all is well while raising you. Let's take a rain check. RB, get to work, man. And
Okay.
So knowing my king,
Yes.
what he's saying is he's validating what Kay Scott said in terms of the man in the house and not the man of the house. That's because that's exactly, and he's ginormous. You've seen him.
Oh yeah,
ginormous, and that's his essence. He is the man in the house, or in service to his mom and dad and his sisters and stuff like that.
All right, Jamie.
While let them know while raising them. Thank you, babe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Come on, no, schmo. We know what you're talking
about.
Yeah,
we know what you meant.
Yeah. Like I said, I would rather errors here than on somebody's fade, and then he on a show at Judge Mathis. Now, this is what I want to talk to about. This is why should our concern be the abuser? Because some are the harm doer. Because some are like, well, we should be concerned with getting her out of there, getting the kids out of there. And then we saw the sister who a couple years ago, Ken, I think you remember this story. She killed her husband. It was a domestic violence situation. So women abuse too, but shouldn't our concern be just to get them out of the house? Why should we be concerned about the harm doer?
I think we should take a lot of precedence in helping the harm doer, because the victim, obviously they can not always, but they can, even if they leave, right, and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
That harm doer is still going to go into another relationship and cause more harm, creating another victim. And so I feel like if we don't want to replicate more victims, we got to stop it at the root. And the root is the person that's conducting the harm. And so, man, if we can, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. If we can,
read that comment, Ken.
He said, Kay Scott, love what you're doing, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. And, man, I got to address that question, that statement. My daughter, my oldest daughter, she's 5 years old. She goes to Kiddie Academy. There's just a young boy, and she loves him, and she's like, I love Bradley. And then Bradley is the name of the kid that goes to her school. And I'm like, okay, well, what make you like him? And she was just talking about like, well, when I sit down, he pulls out the chair for me to sit down. So I was like, man. And so like now I'm thinking about it, it's like, man, when my daughter comes home, I want to model the same behavior so she know what to expect from a healthy relationship standpoint. Yes. Like today, I'll be honest, like me and my wife, we were mad at each other earlier today. Like we weren't talking, but when I got to the house, I let that ego and pride. I was like, you know what am I mad at? I looked at what are we mad about? And it was something silly. And so I went to her, I gave her a kiss, told her I loved her, because I felt like a lot of stuff we just stay on it forever, and it doesn't have But I'm sorry, I had to go off tangent a little bit because my little daughter.
We all do, don't we, Jamie? That's regular on this show. Y'all see how many times I'm off on
I'm looking forward to one of them climbing in the frame of the video. It is so cute.
Where are they at? Put them in the video.
Them out the room.
Unless you don't want your kids seen on here. Bring them in. Where's your wife at? What's she doing? Say hi to us.
They probably baking. She loves baking cookies, and so they always tell mommy bake.
Can I share, Kay Scott?
Do it.
Can I share with when you're so we were in a meeting, and I'm talking about like a professional meeting. And this is how devoted he is as a father. I think his wife had went to the store. So we're talking, we're masterminding this meeting, and we just see this face pop up, and she just sits on, that was your oldest, sits on her daddy's lap. And just kind of like, was just doing her thing. And then here comes the little one. The little one seems like she's a little more independent and kind of like, so it's precious. It is super
precious. Don't you love that?
Yeah.
Because they're comfortable enough to know nothing's more important to daddy than me. Not a meeting, not anything.
And you bring up another interesting point about having men be more vulnerable and showing emotion. Like I feel like sometimes we be too tough and want to put off this figure like, oh man, like I can't show that I'm soft. I can't show that but like, with my daughters, like when I have like when I was reading my mom's book, right? And I be having breakdowns sometimes, just going over sometimes. And I let my daughters see my emotions, right? Just so they know like, hey, daddy does have emotions. Daddy's not this rah-rah type of guy. But I think that's very important for men too, to sometimes just let that vulnerability out, because I feel like that's valuable. when it comes to connecting with people and relating to people.
And let me piggyback off that really quick. There's a caveat to that because you're absolutely right, K. Scott. However, when ladies, when our men, when the men in our lives open up and they're vulnerable and they might be emotional, we've got to hold space for them. We cannot not hold space for them. And what I mean by that is if they're crying, you just get some tissue and you wipe their tears. If they're breaking down, that does not mean that they're weak. And I honestly believe, and I am guilty of this, I was the queen of emasculating men. I honestly believe that is why so many men walk around tough because they've had to as little boys. Don't you cry. And then I'll speak for me as a grown woman. I didn't understand when my ex-husband, the one that whoa, goodness gracious, he wasn't so bad after all.
Yeah.
When he would be vulnerable, I didn't know how to hold space. So thank you for bringing that up, K. Scott. Yes, please, brothers, be vulnerable, and please, sisters, let's learn how to allow that.
Allow it.
Did y'all see how I took? No, I can't take it off the post, but I changed it from addressing the abuser. I changed this to domestic violence awareness, a wake-up call. Y'all are teaching me. Now I can't go back and change it. I'm not going to go do all that on all the posts. But
it's all good.
Moving forward, I just love how, and see, let me tell you, when you have self-awareness, you can acknowledge when you do some self-assessment, you can say, you know what, they're right. Because I no longer refer to them as victims. I'm calling them survivors now more. And even if I call them a victim, I have to catch myself, right? Man, learned behavior, right? You got to unlearn it, and then you got to learn something. You got to replace that. We've got the community. I tell you, this is a beautiful. Jamie knows when the conversation is good, I'm lean back, isn't it, Jamie? I'm getting good. Kid, you're going to be here till 10 o'clock tonight. Your girls, they going to have to go to bed. Mom going to read to bed. Ken, I want you to talk about, and this is so important. Let's talk about the recovery. Now, first, you say you get the backstory, right? You get the backstory. How it's not an overnight thing. Like K. Scott meets with them once, and then man, they're healed, they're cured. Talk about your process working with a harm doer.
Yeah, it's a lot of like the first, I would say 3 months or so. It's more about like applying knowledge to them and having them gain awareness and understanding of what certain things mean. A lot of people.
Well, first of all, let me go back. How do they end up coming to you?
So the way it works is a referral program. So we work with like our target audience is really the individuals that are on probation that either have no criminal history or minimal criminal history. Right, those are the ones we feel like we can really nip in the bud, create some positive change, and really get after it. And make the time will be shorter than the ones that has a long criminal history, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we want to help everybody, but the ones that have no criminal history or minimal, we feel like we can make a quick change with them, right? And to help. But that's how it works. So right now, just going out to communities, meeting with the probation officers, having my pitch deck ready, just like pitching them on the services of why we need it, because a lot of times they're like, oh man, they can just go to BIP classes, right?
What is that?
Batterer Intervention Prevention Program. Like, so those are mandated by the courts.
Yeah.
And they can work, but for me, I feel like when it comes to something like this, the individuals need a more tailored approach.
Gotcha.
Right? Because,
for their unique situation. It's not cookie cutter.
Right. It's not. Everybody has different backgrounds to how they got to that point. So we need to treat it as such. And so BIPs are great, but I feel like they just need a more tailored approach. So our approach is that it's more of a tailored approach, really being like, instead of being on the opposite side of the table with them, I'm more of like shoulder to shoulder, right next there to them, right? We're together, we rolling through this. And so as the more I relate to them and connect with them, shoot, at the end of the day, they don't want to have to report back to me and tell me some bad news and let me down because we already built that rapport.
Okay, but does it work if they're forced to come to you?
Oh, no, they're not.
Okay, so it's not like this is court ordered and they have to see you and they're sitting there just going through the motions. They have to. This is a voluntary.
Mm-hmm. So the way it works, we right now it's a pilot program. We're conducting 60 assessments.
Okay.
Because right now it's just me, but over time, as we build the framework and do all that, we're going to hire more people to bring on the caseload. But right now we're doing 60 assessments in the year, and then that's broken down between 12 a month or 5 a month, 5 a month, and then from those 5 assessments, we select, okay, this person, we fit both of each other, right? They're gonna participate in the program, and they have the desire to change, right? And so we take on them, and then they go through the program. It's a year program. They can meet up to 52 times a week, 52 times, which is once a week, or because some people have work and stuff, we can work around their schedule, bi-weekly, monthly, however that is, to meet their needs. And so really it's a lot of knowledge-based stuff, trying to change their patterns and behaviors, a lot of exercise and role play, right? So, I mean, it's going to get uncomfortable because it's something new for them. But I think it's important because, like, even though they're practicing on me, hopefully when they get into that real life situation, they can think about all the stuff that they've been practicing and be like, let me chill for a moment. All it takes is them to stop and think. If they can stop and think and respond rather than react, that's how I know when we made progress. Like, okay, cool. They're responding, not reacting.
But Jamie, you're getting certified so you can do what Kay Scott's doing, right?
Eventually, I absolutely want to. That is my goal, is to pivot from the survivor to go over there and help Kay Scott with the people that cause harm. Absolutely. And as he was talking, I was reminded of a story that not a story. I was reminded of one of one of Bishop Jake's
sermons.
Thank you, sermons. He was saying, thank you. He was saying how as little girls, we're taught how to nurture and, take care of babies and, cook and all of that. And little boys are taught how to build, play with Tonka trucks and things like that. So it reminded me when Kay Scott said, he's going shoulder to shoulder with these individuals, which it could be women, but studies show it's typically men that cause harm. He's going shoulder to shoulder with this man and saying, hey, bro, let me grab your hand and let me teach you how to have a healthy relationship. That is powerful because you think about it. Some of the times we have an expectation on these people and they don't even, and they grew up in these environments. And then somehow we as a community, when I say we, because it's not a family issue, you all, it's a community issue. The Department of Labor and the CDC reported that $8 billion was lost in the United States as a result of domestic violence. So when I say this is a community issue, it's an economic issue, it's a local government issue. So to think that, okay, as a community, that all we have to do is take these people by the hand, show them that we care, because you got to reach people to teach them and teach them what a healthy relationship looks like. And then on the back end of that, economically, we're going to save the possibility of saving billions of dollars, the possibility of saving mitigating the loss of life, which is not quantifiable, and you have healthy relationships.
This is my question, though. Okay. Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council has been around for how long?
Since, don't get me lying, probably like 10 years or so, I believe.
Okay. So we're just now, I'm getting to a point. We're just now addressing the harm doer.
I think
and look, I'm not judging in any way, right? This is a pilot program. So but clearly they will see that this is needed, right?
Well, here's the thing, and this is why I am basking.
Why so long, I guess I'm asking.
All day long for HDVCC, and you can call them the council. There is nothing that organization can ask me to do that I will not do.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that when it says coordinating council, that they are willing to do out the box things to really solve the problem. What I've recognized, you all, is that we've got to be really mindful of systems that are designed to keep people victims. And I've learned that from having the honor to serve alongside the council, because I see the distinction between the solving, i.e. bringing on the Kay Scott, HDVCC has this high risk. Just these out of the box notions.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, that makes, and they have, and I say the council has community meetings.
Yep.
Right.
So they don't make these decisions in a box, Dr. Don, your audience. No. Yeah. I'm saying they bring the community, the Harris County, the police department, you got the DA's office, you got other domestic violence resources. They bring them all in the room. And so you're like me, it's taken 10 years.
Why did it? Yeah.
Well, it's taken really
well, you know what? For all we know, and I don't want to get into another conversation, but maybe they have asked for grant funding and it never has happened. True. The government maybe didn't see this as a priority. I don't know. I don't know. We don't know.
I can share a little light. It was legal for a man to beat his wife and children up until like 40. It was just in, the rule of thumb, where that
right.
The rule of thumb is it started by a man could take a belt or whatever, and as long as it wasn't wider than their thumb, they could beat their wives and children with it. And that was back like in the 60s or 50s. That ain't been abolished not that long ago. So it was legal.
And then they have to admit, some of them, they're beating their women. Some of our some politicians, some of our lawmakers, they're in, and we're having, it's no judgment, just realness. Sometimes they're like, well, we don't want to address that because then Right. I'm just, we're having, it's no judgment, just realness. Or maybe they're saying, well, this is not as important really to do until they see the dollars. Now let's put some money into this. And go ahead.
That's a good question because that's a good answer because the BIP intervention courses, they have to pay for those. So maybe the BIPs are their way of like, shoot, all right, let's just send them to the BIP because like the harm doers have to pay for those courses,
But they're not learning, and then they're going back out, and then it's costing us money to put, wow. Why aren't we, Ken, Jamie, President, Vice President, the Dr. Don, I'll be y'all's, we're just having a conversation here. But you all are in the trenches. Do you find that our elected officials, politicians are listening to people like you? Is that who's going before them?
We sure hope so. Because I know when I went to a couple weeks ago, I shadowed at specialty courts. They got all these courts for like drug rehab, substance abuse, all that. But they don't have a domestic violence court. Wow. And that's something that the probation officer, her name is Michaela. She's doing an amazing job. She's trying to get that implemented so that we can start seeing that change. And so things are starting to come around. It's just taking a little bit, but we got some people in there that's trying to make it happen.
And give them my name and information. What am I doing here in media? It's time. I love doing shows like this. We got to continue to raise awareness. So I will be absolutely to have you all on again. We don't have to wait till October, right?
Bless you. Right. Thank you.
Dr. October 1st, and then I'll see you in 2025. No, we got to, Christmas is coming up. Domestic violence goes up over the holidays. Isn't that? I don't want to make up statistics. Holidays, we don't know, stressful. People are stressed, and I don't want to make that up, y'all. Is that a statistic? I believe that.
So. And during the summertime, because families are at home typically. Okay. Yes. Okay. You're not making that up.
We don't want to make anything up, but and I'm looking this up as I'm talking. The Dr. Don. But let's go into So let her know. We would love to have you all come back again. I'll look at the schedule, a time that is open, because what am I doing? We got to keep raising awareness on this, and I've got to do what God has called me to do on this. We've got to make a difference. My goodness, this is so important. Ken, now, and then I want to hear from Jamie. First, about this program, this pilot program. Success, are you seeing success?
We're still in the pilot stages. We've been tinkering around.
Yeah, but how many people have you seen where you're seeing some breakthroughs, or you're seeing at least some success?
So right now, it's just a lot of community training with police departments, getting them more aware.
Gotcha.
Right? They're the first point of contact that the people call, like, hey, I just came up with an incident. So right now, it's more so of getting law enforcement to get more cognizant about the questions they ask at that time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So the pilot program, we're still, because I'm meeting with some data researchers and stuff like that to make it really, I like statistics. So just like how you research and stuff, I like to research stuff too and be like, hey, this is the reason why we either need more grant funding for this, we need to move. Like, so initially we had a start date because I meet with the probation office probably later this month, and that's when I'm gonna start bringing in people as far as like to put them on the caseload like actively. But right now it's just community engagement, bringing the awareness to the streets, and then as people are aware, they're gonna start referring instead of going straight to BIP.
But you already meet with people. You're already meeting with harm doers. So this is a separate program for what you do.
No. So I meet with harm doers within this. So the program is the program, but I just meet up one-offs just to like maybe work on, say, for instance, I pilot within the pilot. So if I know someone that is maybe doing harm doing, you know, I ask them certain questions. I test the waters. I'm like, okay, maybe that doesn't work. So let me try something else.
Gotcha.
Right? So, you know, typically, because I've worked in a domestic violence shelter, and I know individuals who are victims and are still within a relationship, and I can ask them questions like from a person that was a harm doer, now they're on the other side, what certain things that were applicable to them that made them change, right? So it's me like doing my own like hands-on research outside the pilot, but for the pilot, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Because you want to see what works. What works, and you have your subjects that you're kind of testing.
Right. So basically all I'm doing, the foundation is them understanding the power and control wheel and also the equality wheel. They like work hand in hand with each other. So I want them to understand that so that they can know what, obviously they may know it from the overview, but they need to know what intimidation looks like, minimizing blaming, what coercion and threats looks like, what financial abuse like, economic abuse looks like, children abuse look like. And I think one of the questions earlier that I was looking through, you mentioned how, what are like basically when men abuse, what are some of the things that they do, like angry, controlling, and if women abuse, what are some things they will do? And typically what I've seen, if a woman does abuse, it's more so with the children. Yeah.
I and as you're talking, I'm listening, but I did read I'm reading on a website, and they say the media brings attention to domestic violence over the holidays, but that doesn't. It happens all the time. So let me clean that up. We're not saying it continues to. You're going to see more stories, media. That doesn't mean at holidays it's higher. It just means the they need a story. But do your own research, people. I just don't want to be putting out bad information.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
But the bottom line, Dr. Dawn, is that it happens all the time.
Yes.
And we should not just address it during October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So please, like, it happens all the time is the bottom line. So you don't want to put out bad information, but in this context, there's no such thing. 246 homicides happened in Harris County last year, right? And of those 247 homicides, the majority of the people that were killed were Black women.
Why our community? Why our community?
And here's to piggyback, I was going to just share this really quick. We cannot wait for the government and for grant funding to do something that we can do ourselves. Like you just said, Dr. Dawn, you're using your platform, your voice, your resources, your knowledge, skills, and ability to raise awareness around a very serious topic that is very, very seriously impacting Black and Brown communities. And so we should not wait around for legislators and for this person and that person to do what it is that we're equipped to do. And when we're thinking about it from a village standpoint, if Pookie is violating me, Pookie is not going to listen to Carl or someone that doesn't look like him or that can't relate to him. So why would we look for the government, which typically the legislators don't look like us? The people that have the dollars and the people that are appropriating the money down to the people that serve in our community, they don't look like us. So bottom line is, we've got to get boots on ground, and we've got to do the work ourselves from a community standpoint. No judgment, like you say on your show.
Just
no
realness.
condemnation. just realness and looking through the eyes of humanity. Pastor Keon Henderson, he just did a sermon last Sunday about the gist is, why are you throwing stones when we all fall short? And it don't even have to be in a biblical context. So I might have not punched nobody in the eye, but I tell you this, I didn't hurt a fair share of brothers in my lifetime with my tongue. So when I think about it from that humanity standpoint, and I also think about it that I have nephews and cousins and colleagues and coworkers that statistics say if 1 in 3 women are abused, well, 1 in 3, and the monster ain't coming and abusing them. That 1 in 3 abuser or the person that's causing harm might be someone that I love.
I mean, how many have we known? But this is something that just came to mind, and criticizing is not going to help it, right?
Right.
So I can keep criticizing all day long, but if you say, Dr. Don, would you come volunteer? Oh, I'm busy. Or you see what I'm saying?
Right.
We like to advocate when it's comfortable, right? We like to get involved when it's comfortable. I was gonna relax that day, K. Scott. How many? But then I'm doing a show on it. What's going on behind the mic, right? So I call myself out. This is good, but what else can I do? And I've actually asked God, what am I created to do? Right? Now you not called to get in every fight, but because you might not be equipped. But everybody has something. I may not be the counselor that's like K. Scott, but if he needs somebody to go to the walk and sign people in and whatever, I mean, we all can make a difference somewhere is what I'm saying.
Right.
So I think it's important to ask God, what is it I'm created to do? And that's what is it I'm created to do, God? What is it I'm created to do with this show, whatever? And I just put that out to people. That's good. Are we going to criticize or are we going to get involved?
Part of the solution or the problem, there's no in between. And oftentimes I say, especially as a believer, I'm not going to survive this thing called life. I don't fear dying, you all, but I do fear dying without fulfilling what it is that God had in store for me. That's what I fear, is going to heaven, hopefully, and God saying, Jamie, I asked you to do this, or I put this gift inside of you. I put you on the earth for such a time as this.
Yeah.
And you played life small. So that's what I fear, y'all. That's why I go,
look,
at this point, if I get lost in the movement, shot in the movement.
I'm feeling something, because Jamie and Ken, feel free to chime in. See, because now we having on the couch in the living room talk. Because who cares, right? This is real. I'm like, God, what is it I'm created to do? What is it? Because Jamie, like you, I was like, God, I don't want to die, and I haven't fulfilled all my purposes. See, it's easy for me to speak at the hotel in the air conditioner with my makeup, right? But it's time to we got too much going on in this world for us not to get some dirt on our hands, right? Too much in this world to go on for us to play it safe. And women empowerment conferences, that's nice. That's nice. Women need empowerment, but we have other things going on as well. And I just don't want us to stay in a box. That's all I'm saying. Let's not stay in a box. That's why I say, God, what have you created me to do? He'll reveal it to you. Don't we? And I'm saying this publicly, so I don't know what God has called me to do.
Right.
I'm saying it, man. It's Ken. What do you want to say on this?
Man, that reminds me of the parable of talents that's in the Bible.
Yes, come on.
And so someone brought that to my attention like a couple of weeks ago when he was speaking about it, and that's you guys are on the same path that I was doing, thinking about. But I really think all it takes is just one guy to transform to a hero from his villainous behavior, right?
Yeah.
And I truly believe, and that's why I want to build this community up. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I feel like, man, if we could change one, and that one can come back and help another and just help another, and we're just like picking people up and transforming the community within the individuals that were once seen as people we wouldn't associate ourselves with. And so that's my hope. That's my vision, is that once we get it going, we can start building a community that once we help somebody, they go back and help someone else. Just like the AA programs, once they get done, they still go back, help someone else. I want that same model, because it's like a recovery process. I want that same model. And I think it would be good for the community.
Because the master gave his servants talents. The one who did not use his talents and he was banished.
Yep.
Whatever God has given us, we got to use it. You may be starting off, I only have, Ken saying, well, this is just a pilot pro. He's not saying it's just a pilot. He's putting his all into it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this can grow, and the master, Jesus, can say, man, okay, you never know. Man, y'all are this is beautiful. Now, before I let you go, because Ken's daughters are probably knocking on the door, and the cookies should be ready by now, unless they do like me in that 15-minute Pillsbury situation. Cut and cook. Hello. Yeah, I'm just saying, y'all. Now, because seriously, something tells me, or maybe they'll pop in a minute. Who knows?
Well, they don't know what they're doing.
What do you all want? What do you all want to say? Whatever you want to say to end this conversation, Jamie, and then you, Ken, K. Scott, to raise awareness.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Dawn. Thank you to your audience for taking the time to listen. You could have been doing anything else, but I consider you a part of the movement.
Some of them are going through it right now, or they know somebody.
Yep.
Hang in there. Let's wrap our arms around each other. And we've got to be the change we want to see in the world. And like Kay Scott said, it might be the change with people, locking arms with people that we would count out. But let's be a part of the solution, not the problem. Every life matters.
Yes.
And so if we instill hope and light in the world, y'all, it's mind-boggling what could happen. So thank you again, Dr. Dawn. Thank you.
Everybody matters, even the harm doer.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes. Even the harm doer.
Yep.
Wow. Ken, K. Scott, what do you want to say?
Yeah, for me, I would say that, this is like one of my taglines, but pressure is no match for purpose. So all the pressures that you may be experiencing to try to conform to something or try to fit into something, right, is never no match for the ultimate purpose of what you're trying to attain. And so whatever that may be for you, don't allow these fleeting moments to take you off of your square, like your foundation, your principles, your integrity, your humility, your compassion, your empathy. Don't allow those fleeting moments of anger, all that type of stuff to get you away from who you are. So I just believe that everybody is a hero in their own right. It's just all about how we can channel it every single day and modeling it. So I hope that everybody can take that away.
I have gotten just so much from this conversation. I tell you, Jamie, thank you, girl. Well, let me shout out Amber Neal. Because when she honored Jamie, that's when I met Jamie, and she shared a little bit and brought her on. Then her and Robert came on talking about healing, loving someone through their healing process. Now we're talking about helping the abuser. Jamie, what else you got, girl? Robert is going to be coming on with K. Scott because Jamie, you're going to set that up because we've got to do a show with fathers and really getting deep into it.
I love that. I'm sorry. Loving someone through the healing process. That was good.
That was good.
Because, oh my God. Oh my, because, I'm sorry to keep on going. I could talk to y'all forever. Because when my mom passed away, I went through a transition phase where I didn't know where I wanted to do. I was just in it because at that time. So when I got released from the NFL and then released from the CFL, my mom passed away right after that. So not only did my sports career die out, my mother passed away, who was my driving force. And because my mom passed away, I didn't have a home that I can go back to because my home is gone, right? And then I didn't have no job, no income because I didn't make the active roster because I got released. So here I am about to be a father, right? With no job, no income, don't have a career. My mom just passed away literally I didn't know my world was black, right?
Yeah.
Luckily for me, I had a great support system and my wife and kind of like helped me through that transition. It's hard and it was hard. But she was kind of like the guiding lights and kind of like pulled me up by like my britches and was like, hey, come on, you got to stand up. Like every time I feel like I take a knee, she would grab me my arm, like, come on, you got it, come on. Like, so loving someone through that healing process is tough because I felt like a different person emotionally because my mom, something like that so close to me was gone. And so, my behaviors kind of shifted from being vibrant to now I was a little more reserved. And so loving me through that it does take a lot. So when you said that, I felt that. I said, oof, that's huge.
That's another show, Dr. Don, right there. Boom.
But no, hold on. What I'm thinking of, because Jamie, I got this. Hold on. Don't worry about that. She's my assistant. She's my producer, though. We both producers. I'm thinking, was your wife with you when you were an athlete?
Mm-hmm.
So the money was there, all that, and then to go from the money to not the money.
So she was actually an athlete as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so we met each other at the University of Utah.
Okay. So this is not a basketball wife situation. Okay.
She was it, and going through our changes in college, like I had my injuries that kind of put me off, but she had an injury that made her have to retire from basketball, going from a Gatorade National Player of the Year to now she has to retire. Like that hit her hard. So, but we leaned on each other. We were young, 17 years old when we first met each other and started dating, and the maturation process was crazy. But yeah.
Hold on. So we're not talking basketball wife. We're talking about loving basketball.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good one. We don't want to, and no shade to what they doing, but that's not, I'm just asking, was she there before the money? Because we see but I don't want to get into that. But it's no judgment, just real. So I was just asking, so we're talking loving basketball.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it's crazy. When we first met, that's the movie we watched together. Loving
That's
basketball.
good.
That's like our favorite movie.
That's good. Now, Robert, I love that. Now, what's her name? Do you want to say her name or?
Yeah, her name's Brittany.
Brittany.
Yeah, Brittany Scott.
Brittany Scott.
Yep.
Okay, and she make it. I can imagine how difficult that must be to be but I hear you still using athletics because some people can't transition, Scott, from this athlete to, and they're lost in their, my goodness. Yeah. Wow. Because the 100 Black Men of America, I moderated an event some time ago, and it was about a career after sports.
Mm-hmm.
You better have a backup because everybody's not going to make it and even if you do, there was a brother on there who was a former NFL player. He says, now I got 5 kids. I'm in finance. You got to be able to transition. That's good. Robert, thank you for joining us. You and Kay Scott will be coming up on an upcoming show about fatherhood, single fathers. Now, you weren't a single father, but either way, we're going to talk about helping men be fathers. So that's what's important. So we'll be setting that show up, Robert. You all, I'm telling you, I want you, Jamie, I want to thank you, girl.
Yes.
And people, this has been a wake-up call for all of us. Kay Scott, and let me read this final comment. He says, always looking forward to it. Oh, this is number 2. He'll be
him
and Jamie just filling up my slide. I'm telling you, I don't need more guests. I'm telling you.
We'll be in studio too. No.
Huh?
I said we'll come to the studio.
I'm saving y'all gas. That's what I'm trying to do. If y'all want to pay them gas prices, that's your business. But hey, look, Kay Scott, I just love this conversation.
Thank you.
But actually, y'all, I don't want to spill the beans on something because you gotta hold your tongue, but trust and believe, you all. There's another opportunity. God working that out, but I don't make premature announcements. That we're gonna get deeper into this after radio. It's gonna be some other things, so I'm very excited what God is doing. Now, I must let you all go because I have other segments to do.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything to say before I let y'all go? Anything? If not, you all, Jamie, I see you tearing up, girl. This has been a beauty. Kay Scott, but good people know good people.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. And Ken blowing up my email. When are you gonna read? Ken, give me a minute. Okay, it's coming. Who is it? Who he think he is? Okay, control. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Come on, we can joke. Can't we?
That was hilarious. Yeah.
You weren't offended. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm running it. I'll get to you, Ken. I'm one person doing 50 million things, darling. Okay.
You're all good.
Come on.
I just didn't want to make sure you didn't forget about me.
I don't ever forget. Jamie, do I forget? If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do something. Like the fatherhood show, Pouring into Fathers, where we're gonna do that. I gotta look at the schedule, but we will schedule that. I'm just telling you, we've got to continue to raise awareness on this. God bless you all. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Yes,
Both of y'all. God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Good to meet you, K. Scott. And you won't be a stranger. And Jamie, I got to do it like this. Is that how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Love. God bless you guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Right, take care. Have a good